All right, and what I will do is I will start us right at 7. I am not seeing any new attendees, but the good news is we are recording this, so this will be able to be shared with everybody and anybody, and Kathy will have access to the video and can provide that to all of you to share with your own networks then once we get that. It's usually about a week.
That's what we were hoping for too, like having the recording of it.
Yep.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's a great way to sort of maximize exposure and that kind of thing. So we will get started right at 7 o'clock. All right, hello and welcome to the Penn State Berks LionSide Chats. My name is Dawn Pfeiffer-Reitz, and I'm one of 3 LionSide Chat moderators working alongside my colleagues Ryan Hassler and Sonia De La Cueto. So welcome and come on into our campus. We're so glad you can join us today or whenever you might watch this video in our future. Before we get started, we wanted to share, you should please feel free to submit questions throughout our program via our Q&A feature here in Zoom. We will get to those questions at the end in our question and answer section, and we will not be utilizing the chat or the raise hand feature today. Once our prepared comments are concluded from our panelists, we will open the question and answer, and that I will come back and facilitate. And we are also, as I mentioned, recording today's session. So I am happy to introduce our lead presenter, our coordinator of this event tonight, Kathy Cavanaugh. Kathy is the Adult Student Enrollment Coordinator at Penn State Berks. She's also a former adult student, Penn State Berks class of 2017, and she is leading us today. So Kathy, I'm going to take my share down and invite you to share yours, and we'll just make sure that that's all ready. Kathy has assembled a wonderful cast of characters here for us today, and we'll be hearing from everybody about their experiences involved with the non-traditional student program here at Penn State Berks. Kath, if you want to hit your place slide there, There you go.
You can see that okay?
I can, yep. All right. So Kathy, I will be here if you need me. Otherwise, I look forward to hearing the presentation tonight.
Thank you so much, Dawn. And thank you to the LionSide Chat team for coordinating this event and hosting us this evening. I'd also like to thank my colleagues who are on this chat this evening, who are going to give you their expertise, as well as the student panel who is sharing their stories this evening. And I'd like to thank all of you for watching this. We are celebrating non-traditional students during this week. And Penn State Berks is a wonderful place to have adult students because we truly value you as students, whether you're returning or you're in a degree program or a non-degree program. We value you as a student and your contributions to our campus. So I'd like to welcome you all. Last week I was in a webinar, and a fact that was given out was that 19% of the student population across all of the Penn State campuses are non-traditional students. So that means 1 in every 5 student that you might see is a non-traditional student. And so that's a significant number of students. And that's why we are celebrating this wonderful, hardworking, and diverse group of students. So let's talk a little bit first about what is a non-traditional student. Well, let's talk about a traditional student first. Commonly, they are someone who enrolls in college right after high school. Typically, you're 18, 19-year-old student, and they're going to school full time. So let's look at some of the characteristics of what a non-traditional student is. Usually it's someone who is 24 years or older. Now, if you're 21, 22, and you don't meet that 24-year-old criteria, you can still be a non-traditional student. That's just if you are just enrolling in college and you are 24 years old or older, then you're automatically considered a non-traditional student. Another criteria is that there might be a gap in your educational experience. Some people might experience the gap right after high school. They decide not to enroll right away. Other students might go to college right after high school, be a traditional student, and they may have a semester or two under their belt, or they may have received their associate's degree, and then they stop. And then they decide to return to education. So that would be the gap in education. And usually it's considered a considerable gap, not just 1 year or 2 years. So any sort of gap in educational experience. Someone who has dependents, and this could be someone who is either a single parent or married with children. Someone who is attending college part-time is another criteria. And then financially independent from their parents. And how that is considered is if when we are assessing the student's needs for financial aid. So commonly parents would be, they would be expected to pay for a portion of their students' tuition, and those would be the traditional aid students. But if your parents are not going to be paying traditionally for it and you're independent, then it's assessed during that time. So then you would be considered financially independent from your parents. Another criteria is you work full-time. And this creates a different experience that traditional students do not have, different responsibilities that the non-traditional student has in working full-time. And also if you are a veteran. Some veterans, or most veterans, I would say, will enter service to the country, and that would create a gap in their educational experience if they go right into service after high school. A lot of veterans utilize the GI Bill that they receive, and then they decide to go to college. And so that creates a gap in their experience. So a lot of these characteristics, they interrelate. So a lot of non-traditional students, adult students, they check off a lot of these boxes. It doesn't have to be just one. But I know a lot of students that a lot of these characteristics are associated with them. So sometimes life transitions are reasons for why people decide to come back to education. And I feel this time in our lives right now with COVID, we are experiencing people who are reevaluating, reflecting, and it's causing these life transitions. And so they're seeking for additional ways to educate themselves. And so we see them coming to campuses. Not too long ago, I want to share a quick story with you. Not too long ago, I hosted a welcome back for adult students on our campus at Berks. And I was talking with a group of 5 at one time. And 2 of those students told me that they were laid off during COVID, and they thought this would be the perfect time for them to come back to school. So we see a lot of that with non-traditional students, especially during this time, that these life transitions, whether it's losing their job or just gaining new perspective on what it is that they want to do in their lives and reevaluate, maybe gain new skills in a different career path. We're seeing a lot of that now. So now I'm going to share a little bit. I do have a student panel with me, but I'm going to share a little bit with you about my story, because as Dawn mentioned in the very beginning, I was an adult student as well. I attended Penn State Berks and received my BA in Communication Arts and Sciences. And I'm going to talk briefly about my story and how I got to that point. of graduating. That's a picture of me on the stage right after I received my diploma. And as you can see by my smile, one of the happiest moments of my life because of everything that I went through just to get to that moment. So right after high school, I went to a community college in my the area where I lived. So I was still at home. I wasn't away. I was living at home and going to school. Just started out a little part-time, then went full-time. And I did receive my associate's degree then. And I do remember when I was going to classes there was a few adult students in my class, our classes. And I do remember this one woman in particular, her name was Sharon. And I just found her to be so fascinating because she was able to share with us during classroom discussions, her experiences, her life experiences, and she would relate that to the topic of discussion in the classroom. And, here I am, this, little 18-year-old who grew up in the suburbs of Bucks County. This was before the internet, before cell phones, before the world was right in our hands. So my world was very, very small. And I remember Sharon talking about her trips to Egypt and the things that she had learned. And I just thought she was so fascinating and so worldly. And I, at that point, just loved when adult students were in my class, when I was a traditional student during that time. And I always valued their input. And, it wasn't Sharon that motivated me to be an adult student. It was just life. That's what happened, why I was an adult student. But I always remembered her, and I always remembered her impact in the classroom. So after I received my associate's degree, life took over. I did a lot of different things with my life, but always in the back of my head, I always wanted to get my degree. I didn't know really what I was going to do with it, but I knew it was something that I wanted to do. And so 24 years later, I enrolled at Penn State as a part-time student. And I kind of laugh at that because in speaking with adult students, or prospective students, excuse me, I need a drink of water. Some of them are a little timid and they'll say, well, I've had about a 5-year gap in my education. And I just laugh because I'm like, 24-year gap right here. Don't worry, you're going to be fine. A lot of technology changed in my time, so you're going to be fine. So I was a little nervous when I started, but being at Penn State Berks with the faculty and the students there was so welcoming and such a wonderful experience for me. I think because of the smaller classroom size and the interaction that you have with your instructors made it so much more valuable to me. And really made me feel like I was a part of the community. So it was such a wonderful experience. So I went for 2 years at Penn State Berks, part-time, taking 2 classes per semester. And then I had to stop. I had a life-changing event in my life, and I went through a divorce. So I then had another 5-year gap before I started back up. So I'm a several gap kind of person here. But at that time when I came back, I knew, okay, I have about 2 more years. I put my blinders on. I knew what I wanted to do. I had my goals laid out, and nothing was going to stop me from getting my degree. I had it in my head that nothing was going to stop me. And so the picture that you see up on the screen here, that was my commencement in December of 2017. And there was a snowstorm that day. And I remember thinking, nothing will stop me from walking across that stage. So thankfully, our M&O team cleared out the snow. We did host the commencement on campus, and I was able to receive my degree. I would have received my degree anyway, but it was just that moment that I was really looking forward to as a student. So I was happy to walk across the stage. So that was back in 2017, which really wasn't that long ago. And so I still had my blinders on and I had a whole new set of goals. And so I decided, because I was, on a roll, I was going to get my master's degree. And so I enrolled at the World Campus, and I received my Master of Education in Higher Education just 2 years later. It was only 10 more courses, and I was so driven and focused. And I had new goals in my life that I achieved while going through my bachelor degree, that I knew getting my master's degree was really what I needed to do in my life. As I said, I've always felt getting my bachelor's degree was something that I always wanted to do, it was always in my head. But I really did that for my children. I'm a single mother of 3 kids. They're all teenagers now, actually, 2 are in their 20s now. But I always wanted to do it for them, to show them that you can do anything in life at any time. You are never too old to learn something new, try something new, go out on a limb, do something different, do something for yourself. So that was more for them. And my master's degree was more for me, because I had goals and I was very driven and I knew what I wanted. So I felt that degree was for me. So that's my story. Every adult student is going to have their own very unique story. But what I find also is that there's a lot of overlap in some of the different parts of their story. A lot of us work full time. A lot of us have kids, and we'll be like, oh yeah. How do you do your homework during, dinner time? So there's always something that we can connect with as adult students or non-traditional students, even though each of our stories are unique. And you are going to hear some of those stories tonight with our student panelists that we have. So I just want to thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to talk to you about non-traditional students, tell you a little bit about my story. And as Dawn mentioned, I am the Adult Student Engagement Coordinator at Penn State Berks. And if you would like to reach out to me, here's my name and my email address. And I'd be more than happy to talk with you via Zoom, phone call. We could even meet on campus at some point for a cup of coffee. I'd love to talk to you and help you out, see what your goals are, and hopefully get you on our campus. So thank you so much. And I'm going to stop sharing. So now I'm going to hand it over to Nettie Matz and Ryley Daniels. Nettie Matz is the Assistant Director of Financial Aid, and Ryley Daniels is the Financial Coordinator in Financial Aid, and both of them are Veterans Certifying Officials. And so the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Kathy. So in our office, we both work in the financial aid office, and we certify veterans benefits. This will actually be our last semester certifying veterans benefits. It will be going to another office, but we can still help you with that. So a lot of students who are non-traditional students tend to also be veteran students, or they're using someone's vet benefits. So we handle those certification of those benefits. What we need from those students, if you're using the benefits, is what's called a COE, certification of eligibility. I always remember the acronym. I don't remember what it's actually called. And then we have a campus request form, or a CRF, that we need from a student every semester, because we need to know if a student is using those benefits. We can't just certify them without the CRF form that currently is on our website. It can be searched, just veteran certification form. It will eventually go on to LionPath, and it will be a student activity guide. So it will, instead of being a paper that you hand into an office, it will just be on LionPath. So if you have questions about veterans benefits, you can come to our office for now, because right now we're still the experts, but we will be handing it off to another office and helping them with the transition. until they take it over. And Ryley, anything else we have?
I think you covered it all.
Okay.
As far as the veteran benefits, we certify anything from the GI Bill, Chapter 33 to 1606, which is our National Guard. And as Nettie had mentioned, for anybody who is utilizing veteran benefits from a significant other or parent, that's Chapter 35, as well as Chapter 31, which is our voc rehab benefits. But yeah, anything that we can do to assist you further, we're happy to do so. So please reach out to either Nettie or myself.
Thank you so much. I think you're both being a little modest because I'm going to read a quote here. In 2017, Penn State Berks was named to the military-friendly schools by ratings organization Victory Media. In addition, Penn State Berks was the only Penn State campus to be awarded the Silver Award, signifying that the campus falls within 30% of the 10th ranked organizations. So since you didn't mention that, I thought it would be beneficial for me to mention that. We are a very military-friendly school, and this week, since it's non-traditional student week, all the way up to Veterans Day on November 11th, we celebrate those students on our campus with an event coming up this week. So thank you very much, Ryley and Nettie, for your time. Next up, I invited Erica Kunkel to our chat. Erica Kunkel is the Interim Director of Continuing Education. Non-traditional students are not always degree-seeking students. And so Erica is going to share with us some of the programs that continuing education offers. And we honestly don't have enough time, Erica, for you to list everything that is offered. But you can give us just a little bit of it.
Absolutely. I picked a couple examples to share. So thank you, Kathy, for the introduction. Kind of as Kathy was saying, we understand that sometimes a degree program or a credit program may not always be the best option for non-traditional learners for a multitude of reasons. You may just need to gain one skill to help you move up at your current job, or you're looking to quickly reskill and move to a new company. Maybe time is just an issue for you. You can't dedicate enough time to go back for a degree or a credit certificate. So we do offer non-credit classes and certificate options that can help offer you some more flexibility. And as I said, I thought I'd share a couple examples of how others have leveraged this continuing education programming. So for the first example, we had an adult learner a few years ago. He'd run into a wall with his career. He needed a degree to move up, so he was taking classes in the business program, but he also knew that he really wanted to be in the construction management field. So while working on the classes for his business degree, he was also taking 4 non-credit courses to earn our construction management certificate. So this allowed him to gain specific skills, including blueprint reading and cost estimating. He was able to get a job within his chosen field while he continued to work towards his bachelor's. And then once he received his degree, he was able to move up within his chosen industry. So that's one of my favorite stories, how he would progress through and met his specific goals. A second example is super common, and that's just someone who wants to gain a new skill to add to their resume or to get a new job. So we offer options from a single course to a certificate in topics such as cloud strategies for an enterprise. We have a 2D, 3D CAD certificate where participants will learn 2 computer-aided design software products, AutoCAD and SolidWorks. We have a programmable logic controllers, PLC certificate, project management certificate, and so on. In most cases, students can complete a single class in 7 weeks and then a certificate in usually about 2 semesters. Many of these classes are hands-on and provide real-world examples to help you gain those skills that you need and that employers locally are looking for. And then my final example is for those who might be looking to add an industry-recognized credential to their resume. An example of this, we have an 18-month practical nursing program that prepares students to sit for the NCLEX exam to become licensed practical nurses. Maybe you've worked in project management for many years, and the next step for you would be earning the Project Management Professional Designation, the PMP, through PMI, the Project Management Institute. So that could be a good next step for you. We have prep classes to help you review and study for that exam. And then we also offer other prep classes in human resources, engineering, supply chain. So to help you sit for those exams that are out there to be credentialed. So these are just some of the programs we offer. They're generally based on in-demand skills for local employers. And the classes are usually held one evening per week. So we try to keep it still manageable for adult learners. Generally either in person or have a hybrid video component. So you still have that live interaction with an instructor and other students. So you can gain that networking and knowledge. Like Kathy said, we all have different paths. It's important that we offer options that can help you all reach your goals. Maybe you're not ready to jump right into a degree program right away. Maybe you need that stepping stone. Maybe you need a little piece to get you started and get your career on a different path. And we're here for you as best we can. So either way, whatever works for you, we're gonna hopefully have what you need. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Kathy or I. We'd love to help support you reach your goals. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you so much, Erica. Just the other day, a student or prospective student emailed me, and she was looking for a degree program in supply chain management. And I emailed her back and I said, Penn State Berks doesn't offer a degree program. However, we have a certificate in supply chain management with, has 3 classes. You could get your certificate. So, we have so many different offerings that students might not be aware of, especially those credentials that could boost your career. So thank you for sharing all of that information with us, Erica. And so now I'm going to turn to our student panelists. We are very fortunate to have 3 outstanding students with us. And I will just introduce their name, but then I'm going to have them introduce themselves, what degree program they are with or were with, and let them tell you a little bit about their stories. So I'm going to turn the floor over first to Diana Vavrick.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Diana Vavrick, and I'm currently the Director of Human Resources for Abilities in Motion, as well as a student at Penn State Berks in the OLEAD program. My first interaction with Penn State Berks was back in 2013 when I came there to take my certification courses for my SHRM certification. So I took that, and everybody there was professional, friendly, and willing to help and give me information. So I was able to successfully achieve that certification. As you know, life gets in our way. Work gets in our way, kids, all of that stuff. And so ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to go to college. That was my dream. But life happened. And so I was in retail most of my career, which is very demanding. And suddenly after 27 years of service, they restructure and I lose my job. So I evaluated what I wanted to do with my career. I wanted to get into nonprofit. I wanted to make a difference in the community, and went on at least 50 interviews. And everybody said, where's your college degree? You know so much, but where's your degree? So like everybody was pushing me that way. But I did get a job offer. So I took the job offer, and still in the back of my head, where is your degree? My whole life, I had to work twice as hard to prove I was just as good as somebody with a degree. And throughout my career as an HR manager, and I would recruit a lot at Penn State. I, with Macy's, would go up to main campus with our college recruiting team and recruit from there. So I got the importance of a degree, but I needed to get myself there. So I finally did it. I applied. I I don't know if I should say this, but at 60 years old, 63 years old, and started my college degree. So you're never too old to pursue your dreams. And who knows what's out there. So I got my certificate, as Erica was talking about, in employment relations, and it validated that I did know what I was talking about and I had experience. And in my first class, there was a fellow student who was actually older than me. And because I thought I was going to be the oldest in all of my classes. And she said, I'm working on my 3rd degree. So just keep on learning, because it's going to keep you young and it's going to, just open up doors for you. And so every single student that I've encountered has been open and welcoming. I built a network of peers that I feel that I can count on. Each and every one of us had a different path and different obstacles that we had to overcome. And it doesn't make one any more important than the other. And we've networked with each other. And so we get excited when we take a class and that person's in the class again, because we know we can count on them. And they're going to deliver the results. They're just as passionate as you are. And they're going to be lifelong connections that we're going to continue to share. So I'm excited. I don't know how long my degree will take me to get, but I'm going to get it. And I too, Kathy, want to then pursue my master's after that. So
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing your
you're
story.
welcome.
And you brought up a really good point. When you were pursuing your certificate, your SHRM certificate, how that validated you in knowing that, you can do this. And I think that's a really important point. Sometimes we need that little boost of confidence to help us understand, we can do this. Sometimes that little voice in our head tells us, you can't do this. You're too old to do this, but that's wonderful that you had that experience. And I'm so glad and so happy for you. Diana is just chugging along. You will get that degree.
And I'll be happy like you are when I walk across the stage.
Oh yeah. That's keep that vision in your head. You will get there.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to turn the floor over now to Lan Schnabel, and she'll tell you a little bit about her story as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leanne. I am in my junior year here at Penn State Berks in the Organizational Leadership Program. Thank you, Kathy, for your lead-in. I think you did a great job speaking on value. And value is something that I feel as a Penn State student that I get. I spent a lot of time prior to coming back in my education at other institutions throughout the state, and I never really felt like I found my spot in college. I never felt like I belonged, like I didn't take it seriously, like I wasn't really sure if college was for me. So I decided to go out and start working, and I was working and gained a lot of great experience, but like Diana, I was always held back because I didn't have a degree, and it was very frustrating. And I thought, you know what, like, I want to do this for myself, Kathy, like, as you were saying, doing this for myself. So I took a leap of faith and I decided to come back in fall of 19. And I had a major life event and I walked into financial aid and I was almost ready to drop out. And Dr. Judith Riles at the time was working, and she talked me into staying, and I'm so thankful she did. And she was so welcoming, and she said, try out this program, you'll do great. And she believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And that has been my experience with all of the professors and faculty that I encounter at Penn State, is they believe in their students. And I thought to myself, coming back as a non-traditional student, like, how am I going to feel fitting in with younger students? I work full time. I have professional experience. Like, I don't know if this is really for me. And I wound up in classes with people like myself that are working full time, experiencing the same problems and barriers that get in the way of a traditional student. you know, we all have lives and families and things. And, you know, I thought, wow, this is quite the undertaking, but I started classes and I just fell in love. And the professors want you to succeed. The faculty want you to succeed. They're so supportive at every step of the way. And I, for the first time in my adult life, can say that I love school. I enjoy going to school. And that was never, ever the situation. And I'm so thankful to be in this program. Like Diana was saying, I'm in a bunch of classes with Diana, and your peers like push you to do better, to challenge you, to think differently, to become a better person and a better employee. And that's what, for me, what this is about. Once I get my degree and I go out in the real world, who I am and as a person. And Penn State does a phenomenal job at preparing you once I'm done. So thank you, Kathy, so much. I'm so thankful to be here.
Thank you, Leanne. That was so nice when you reached out after we sent the email, and you reached out and you said, I want to be on this panel. And I was like so happy that you agreed to it. So thank you so much. A couple things that you had talked about. I too had a very significant conversation with Dr. Judy Ryle when I was a student, and I had to withdraw for a period of time. And I remember her telling me, don't ever stop. Like she wanted me to come back. She knew I could. Eventually, she said, don't ever stop. And she was so in my corner. And I just remember that moment. I'm glad you had the same type of experience with her as well. Not only, you know, her, but all the faculty and staff as well. And one thing I want to mention too, both Leanne and Diana are in our organizational leadership program. We call it OLEAD for short. And this particular program is designed for adult students. It's the only accelerated degree program that we have at Penn State Berks. And so that's how Leanne and Diana know each other. They're in a cohort of students who go through this pretty much the same classes all the time, and they're working adults. And they have each other's back. They can challenge each other. They can push each other, help each other. They talk about their work scenarios in class. So this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for anyone who's looking to come back to school to get a degree. This particular program, the Organizational Leadership Program, offers you flexibility. Courses are offered in the evening at an accelerated pace, like they already mentioned. So I just wanted to give another plug to that particular program that you're both involved in. And so finally, we have one more student, and I saved Tracy for the end because Tracy is, I'm going to let her tell her story, but I just want to say Tracy is a former student of Penn State Berks because she graduated. So Tracy, I'm going to hand the floor over to you, and you tell everyone your story.
Great. Thank you very much, Kathy. I appreciate that, my fellow castmate. Hi, everybody. I'm Tracy Whitmire, and I'm a graduate of Penn State Berks, class of 2020. So a little bit about myself. I was like your non-traditional student too. I graduated high school and just went into the workforce basically. And then later on in life, you know, those doors were slamming. People weren't really, you know, just because, you know, you had a high school diploma, it really didn't mean much. You know, having a college degree basically meant something. So I had a life event too. I became an aunt for the first time, and holding my niece, I just, this desire to kind of move forward in life. And, you know, so back in 2009, actually, 2009 is when I decided to go to a community college, and move up a little bit here to 2015 is when I enrolled into Penn State Berks. And I have to say, honestly, about Penn State Berks in general is like what everybody else has said on the panel, is that it is a community of staff and faculty that stand behind you. Even I have to give a shout out to my CAS professors, because you know what, it becomes a family after a while, and we all basically care about one another and, you know, about your lives. And, you know, it's like, you know, just because you think you're older and you might not fit in reality is like when I graduated, honestly, I had kids younger than me coming up to me, what an inspiration I was to them. And like, It's like, just when you don't think as an adult, things are going to jive in a classroom, but that's not true, honestly, because you're walking through that door every day, even though you're going through your struggles and obstacles in life, right? In reality, the finish line is just around the corner. And, I have to say, graduating in 2020, December of 2020 was not my idea of graduation, but I have to say in reality is though, I am welcome back in December. I mean, I'm going to graduate actually, so I'm happy about that. But what I want to say in closing is that, climb that mountain, it doesn't always go straight up. I mean, straight up, you basically, you have turns and, every angle, but, you can do it. Basically, just, even if you go daytime or in the evening, Penn State is the best, Berks is the best because like the reality of community, in your mind basically is that people, professors, everybody stand by you. Like I honestly felt when I graduated at Penn State Berks, I didn't feel like it was a college. I thought it was more of a community college atmosphere because people stand behind you. If I struggled about things, other people can help you out. And I have to say at the end, I had a learning disability all this time. And I honestly couldn't write papers. It was a voice recognizing software to help me out, but it was also the librarians in the college library that actually helped me out. And when I struggled, they took the time and patience aside, and I made appointments in my time, and they gave me part of their time, even with the professors too. So, Kathy, I just want to say again, thank you so much, my fellow castmate and friend. Thank you for having me on.
Sorry, I had a little trouble unmuting there. Thank you, Tracy. Tracy had mentioned the term castmate, and what that is those of us who are communication arts and sciences majors, we are castmates. Instead of classmates, we're castmates. And so that just gives you a real quick idea of the type of community that is present at Penn State Berks. Not only, in our particular degree program. Tracy and I were in classes years ago together, and I helped her see her through to her graduation. So I'm so excited for my friend Tracy. But yeah, I know, castmate, that's Penn State Berks.
Kathy, I think that has, you've come to the end of all of your assembled presenters, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Well, I can go ahead and facilitate Q&A now, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I just want to tell you as a member of Communication Nation, Tracy and Kathy, that I was very inspired by listening to all of your stories. One of my favorite parts about being involved with the LionSide Chats is I get to hear these things, and this is not typically something that I would hear in my day-to-day as a member of the community at Penn State Berks. So this is fascinating, and especially Leanne and Diana and I know Tracy's story a little bit, so not as a surprise, but Diana and Leanne, I'm really grateful for you all sharing your experience as well. So thank you everybody for being here, and just a few questions. If anyone is in the audience and wishes to contribute to our Q&A, I'm happy to offer those up to our panelists. But one of the things that I want to ask in the meantime, I'm wondering if our students that are here tonight can comment about maybe one particular faculty or staff member that may have been instrumental in your success. I know that's something that is, I remember as a student, as an undergraduate, and in my experience, making connections with the people is such an important part of that process. So I'd be very interested in hearing from Leanne and Diana and Tracy, who some of those folks might be. Leanne, why don't we start with you, and then Diana, you go, and then Tracy.
Sure. So I definitely have to thank Dr. Judy Ryley. I know she has since left, but she was so instrumental in keeping me at Penn State. And Kyle Hanlon also comes to mind. He is so willing to give his time and go out of his way for his students, and he's just as invested in their success as his students are. And I just nominated him today for the Shire Faculty Award. He definitely deserves some recognition because he's very committed to his student success.
That's fantastic. I appreciate hearing that. And Dr. Judith Riles passed away, I want to say, Nettie, in the summer of 2020, correct? And that was such a loss for all people at Penn State Berks that ever had any conversation with her. And I know I miss her. And I know the folks that worked with her super closely, like Nettie and Ryley, must miss her terribly all the time. So I'm so glad, because I loved her too, that you shouted her out today, Leanne. Diana, what do you have to say?
Well, I have three. Dr. Riles, of course, touched all of our hearts, and she actually gave a different perspective in how you learned. And so it like turned on a whole different side of me. And Kay Berkey was the first professor I had, very patient, very structured, and sort of got me aligned with what the expectations were. And so I was thankful that she was my first professor. And just like Leanne, I nominated Kyle today too for that award, because he will go out of his way to make sure that you understand what he's trying to teach you. And he'll meet with you on Saturdays, he'll set up a conference call, whatever it takes. He is more than willing to help you meet your goals. And so he's like the most willing to do that, but all of the professors will do that if you ask. And so that's the extraordinary part of Penn State. And I forgot a tiny part in my story. My daughter went to Penn State Berks before me. Upon my pushing her from my interaction of all of the job fairs I did there, and she went, and she had graduated back in 2019. So we had some of the same professors. And so Judith Ryle and Kyle Hanlon were two of her favorites too. So it's the professors make the difference. The faculty make the difference. There is never a time you won't get a call back or an email back. So that's important.
Awesome. Thank you. And I love hearing the story about your daughter too. That makes me feel good. Tracy, how about you?
Let's see here. That is so hard, because I would just have to say, honestly, it would be all my CAS professors, because every one of them shaped me. Even you, Dawn, actually, when I was going through a rough patch there, you mentored me for a little bit and took me aside, and so it's really hard. I mean, off the top of my head, I would say Dr. Joe Burke, probably, because like there were times when I didn't know which direction I was going. Even Dr. Michelle Ramsey, like it was just kind of like knocking on a door and always had time for you. It's just, even with the staff and faculty, everybody is there for you, so when you make an effort, they make an effort. Thank you very much.
I love that. When you make an effort, they make an effort. And that is such a really great lesson for any student, really. As a faculty member, we want your success, right? And we want to work with you, but we can't carry you to that success. So when you make that effort, we're going to make that back to you. So I appreciate that. Another question for our students here. Is there one piece of advice that you might give to a traditional student? Just as a different kind of mix it up a little bit here. Is there one piece of advice? I'm going to start with Diana. I'll go to Tracy, and then we'll end up with Leanne. Diana, advice to a traditional student. So picture the 18 to 21, straight out of high school into college kind of space there.
We actually had a class with some students from one of the other campuses. And to be honest with you, in the beginning, they like made me crazy. And it was like, just take it seriously, meet the deadlines, get the information to your team. So just take it seriously.
I love that. Thank you, Diana.
Yeah.
Tracy, how about you?
I would say that even being that young, if you're going through like a hardship in life, basically, just focus on the finish line, because it's honestly not that hard. I know of a young girl actually that her parents were going through a divorce, and she came to me and she was saying that she wanted to quit college, and I just advised her to take some time, for herself a little bit and come back to it with maybe in a couple of days and think about it. And she came back and said, she was going to work her way through it. So just remember, when there's obstacles in life, basically just focus ahead, because there is a finish line, there is a mountaintop.
I love that. Thank you, Tracy. And how about you, Leanne?
The thing that comes to mind for me is to use your resources. I bug my professors constantly, like even before I get the syllabus. I email, I ask a ton of questions and keep asking those questions. Like I have found, I don't know if it's specific to an adult learner, but professors love to talk about the subject matter. They're very passionate. Like everyone that I've encountered at Penn State that is a professor is so knowledgeable and passionate about what they do, that they want to share their information, and they really enjoy student engagement. So just keep asking those questions.
Oh, I love this. I'm so glad to be here tonight. Thank you, all of you. And I'm taking notes, actually. This is so
Dawn,
great.
I know. I have something to add,
Go
because
ahead.
Leanne, you just mentioned this, and this just popped in my head. Last week when I was on that webinar with non-traditional students, someone said this, and to me, it was just so profound. He said, he directed it towards the non-traditional students, and he said, engage us with your lived experiences. And I thought that was so profound, because as staff and faculty members, we always try to engage our students. But you as students, especially non-traditional students, adult students, you have to understand how significant your experiences, the value that you bring to class, how engaging that is, not only to the professors who love to share their information and their knowledge, but the other students, whether they're traditional students or they're non-traditional with you as well. You have so much value to offer. So don't be afraid to engage with us, all of your lived experiences. Share that with us. Share that in the classroom experience. It makes it so much more richer for everybody, not only you, but everybody in the classroom. So thank you, Dawn, for letting me add that in.
Yeah,
I actually,
really important. And it sort of was going to, what you were just saying was sort of a segue into how I was going to wrap up for us tonight. No, and that's okay. I don't have any more questions, so I think I'm going to go ahead and share my final screen, and then go ahead and do that wrap up. Sorry, you have all of my stuff here. There we are. So what I was going to comment about was just today in my CAS 100 class, one of my students, we were doing a group activity, everybody's working, and one of my students just asked me, Dawn, did you always want to be a professor or teacher? And I said, no. I said, I didn't even know that was a thing back in the time. So it actually opened up a opportunity for me to talk to him and his group mates about my journey and how I came here. And I just love that as students, that you take the opportunity to engage us with your lived experiences, Kathy. And I think that's what you said from the webinar. And so that's such a major part of what it is that I do and why I do what I do here at Penn State Berks. And I would imagine that many of my colleagues would feel the same way. But as I was going to mentioned earlier, as somebody that teaches primarily traditional age college students, I love when I get a non-traditional student in my class. It makes me so happy for so many reasons. One of you, it might have been Diana, said, meet the deadlines and take it seriously. Yes, you model that, you non-traditional students, you model that, how to be an adult in this space and how to do the adulting stuff. And it's so wonderful. I get so much deep, rich breadth of the conversation that goes through when I have non-traditional students in my classes. So I applaud you, and I really I appreciate the gotta choose the word that I want to use here, the courage that you have to come back to a classroom after a certain amount of time and various life circumstances. And I think that that's something that is really special. So I really, really appreciate that. So Kathy, is there any last minute comments that you want to make, or should I go ahead and move to thanking you all for joining us tonight?
I would personally like to thank everyone that was here this evening. Thank you so much for your time, for your passion, for your expertise, knowledge that you share, not only with me, but the students and potential people watching this in the future. To the students on our panel, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us, your experiences. They are so significant and you are very inspiring, and I'm sure you may inspire someone watching this as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. And thank you to our staff members, Erica and Ryley and Nettie, for joining us tonight. Your input and your role on our campus is super valuable, and I thank you for that. And Leanne and Diana and Tracy, thank you for your insight and your time. And it was nice to meet you in this virtual space. And again, thank you to Kathy for putting this together and being our facilitator of the content tonight. And thank you to everybody for joining us. As you click out of our webinar, you'll receive access to a survey. Take a few minutes to complete the survey and let us know what you thought about today's chats, and perhaps offer some insight into what you'd like to see in future chats as well. Feel free to keep in our website bookmarked if you'd like, and reach out to us if you have any questions. So, and be sure to come back and learn and meet with other faculty, staff, and students about our other exciting things that happen at Penn State Berks. So until next time, stay safe, Berks and beyond. Signing off until next time. This has been Penn State Berks LionSide Chats. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.